Margaret Simon, Abby Ryder Fortson, 11 years old, returns home to New York City after spending the summer at camp. Herb, Benny Safdie, and Barbara, Rachel McAdams, are her parents, and Herb's mother Sylvia, Kathy Bates, pays her visits. When Margaret enters her apartment, she discovers that the family is relocating to New Jersey due to Herb's promotion. Margaret is saddened to be leaving her soul home, but her family tells her that change is healthy for her. Margaret has Jewish ancestors on Herb's side and Christian ancestors on Barbara's side. She regularly prays to God, usually beginning with, "Are you there, God? Margaret, this is me." Margaret encounters Nancy Wheeler, L. Graham, in the neighborhood after arriving in Jersey. She informs Margaret that she saw a poster about her relocating to town and asks her to come play in the sprinklers at her house. While there, Nancy remarks on Margaret's flat breast and the fact that she has never kissed a male. Nancy's irritating elder brother Evan, Landon Baxter, and his pal Moose Freed, Aiden Watjakisong, are introduced to Margaret. Margaret develops feelings for Moose and even mentions to her father that Moose offers to trim their grass for $5. Margaret begins sixth school with Nancy and her two other friends, Janie Loomis, Amari Price, and Gretchen Potter, Catherine Kupferer. Laura Danker, Isel Young, a taller and more developed female, is teased for her height, and Nancy circulates a story that Laura allows Evan and Moose feel her up. The other females, save Margaret, are smitten with Philip Leroy, Zachary Brooks. Nancy invites the other girls to her residence after school for a secret club. One of their regulations is that they must wear bras and refrain from discussing the males they like. Barbara is uncomfortable when Margaret asks if she may buy a bra, but she takes her daughter out to do so. Margaret's chest is measured by the store salesperson, who then provides her a training bra. Margaret notices that Janie and Gretchen are also wearing training bras when she meets them again, which makes her feel less worried about herself. Nonetheless, the females do an exercise and chant, "We must. We have to. We need to expand the bust," to aid in their development. Mr. Benedict, Echo Kellum, Margaret's instructor, assigns the class a research project. She tells him she doesn't know what to investigate until she cites her mixed-race upbringing, as well as how her parents promised her she may select her own religion when she's an adult. Mr. Benedict notices Margaret's remark about never meeting Barbara's parents and subsequently asks Barbara why. Her parents, who are staunch Christians, did not approve of her marrying a Jewish guy, so they disowned her and have not talked to her since. Margaret and Sylvia spend the weekend in the city. She takes her granddaughter to the temple so that Margaret might learn more about Judaism. Meanwhile, Barbara attempts to become more engaged in the neighborhood and PTA, meeting with Nancy's mother Jan, Kate McCluggage, and signing up for a variety of organizations. Margaret and her friends begin to anticipate their first period. Gretchen tells the girls she got it first, while Nancy claims to have obtained it by sending a postcard to Margaret while on a trip with her parents. Norman Fisher, Sims May, a strange youngster in Margaret's class, invites the entire class to his house for a birthday celebration. The kids go grudgingly because Norman's parents have money and the other parents force them to. The kids begin playing Spin the Bottle, with Norman first kissing Janie on the cheek, until Nancy changes the game to 2 minutes in the closet. Laura is the first to enter with a shorter boy, followed by Margaret and Philip. Margaret is overjoyed to have had her first kiss, and Philip kisses her twice. Margaret subsequently goes to a restaurant with Nancy and her mother. Nancy goes to the bathroom and sobs, asking Margaret to summon her mother. Jan goes to help Nancy and discovers she is having her period for the first time, which leads Margaret to believe Nancy lied about having it earlier. Margaret is assigned to a group assignment at school alongside Laura, Norman, and Philip, much to her disgust. Margaret determines in one of her prayers that she hates Philip, Nancy for lying to her, and the other kids in her group when Philip comments on her chest. Margaret and Laura are both working in the library. Margaret becomes irritated with Laura and snaps at her, making remarks based on what Nancy said. Laura storms out, claiming that allegations about her are only propagated because of her height and physique. Margaret then notices Laura going to a church confessional and attempts to confess to the priest as well, but she is unable to do so. It also makes her realize that she no longer wants to be friends with Nancy. Margaret intends to spend her spring vacation in Florida with Sylvia. Barbara, who had sent her parents a card, receives a reply expressing that they are attempting to put their past behind them and want to see her and meet Margaret. Margaret's vacation is cancelled due to their presence, which forces her to meet her other grandparents. Paul and Mary Hutchins, Gary Houston and Mia Dillon, Barbara's parents, come and meet Margaret. Sylvia arrives with a male partner, despite her understandable dissatisfaction with Paul and Mary's handling of her kid. After dinner, Sylvia mentions taking Margaret to the temple, which sparks a dispute between Margaret's parents and grandparents about Margaret's religious beliefs. Margaret shouts at the grown-ups, declaring that the discussion is pointless and that she does not believe in God. Margaret brings in her study report to Mr. Benedict, expressing her doubts about herself. Margaret reconciles with her parents and Sylvia after some introspection. Margaret decides to befriend Laura and dance with her at a school function at the conclusion of the school year, and Janie joins them. Margaret also compliments Mr. Benedict on his excellent teaching abilities. She also hopes to spend time with Moose, who is now mowing their yard. Margaret has her first menstruation at home. Barbara steps in to assist, and the two embrace as Margaret feels pleased and relieved. Margaret then resumes her prayers, praising God for everything that has occurred.